As a business owner, if you're trying to become confident, you already lost. And what you're going to get out of this video is the harsh reality of being confident as a business owner and how to break out of this cycle, right? Because it's probably killing you and your business. So let's get straight into it. What is confidence, right? Confidence to me is the feeling of being sure, right? Being sure of something and thinking that it's more unlikely to fail than to succeed, right? Because you want the feeling of I've done this so many times, it's easy now, right? So to me, that's the feeling of confidence, is the feeling of being sure, right? That's supposed to be a steak or an egg. Let's say an egg, right? Excuse my bad drawing. So that's supposed to be an egg. Now, first time cooking an egg, you probably don't remember, but first time trying to cook an egg, you might be a little nervous. You might overcook it. You might mess up. It might taste really bad. It's hard to mess up an egg, but this is just an example, right? So the first time you're cooking an egg, you might mess up, right? But you mess up 20 times, let's say, if you're a really, really bad cook, right? It's okay. I am too. But if you mess up 20 times, eventually you're going to find your groove and you're going to start cooking your eggs pretty well, right? So there's this initial learning curve that you have to go through of messing up and being not confident, being unconfident about cooking eggs, right? And it's that trial and error at the start where, all right, you're messing up as a business owner, right? You maybe put out an offer that didn't resonate, that didn't work, that doesn't solve a real pain for your audience, right? And this initial part is where people quit a lot, right? They've tried 20 times and just hasn't worked. And it's completely normal. But I think it just breaks a lot of people. And it's natural, right? Because after failing 20 times, especially in business where it's not as low risk, where it's just not just an egg where you can just throw it out. In business, you might put money into it. You might invest a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of capital, the same thing, right? And that risk of failing 20 times is a lot of the times people can't handle that and people don't even want to go through with that, right? And that's okay. It's not meant for everyone, right? But the feeling of the fact that you're trying to become confident here, like you're trying to start your journey right here, and it doesn't work that way, right? It's just not how nature goes. You need to go through this learning curve, right? Now, for me, for example, let's use myself as an example, okay? For me, when I started my journey of marketing and sales when I was 15, right? I started my journey when I was 15. I contacted tens of thousands of businesses before anyone ever gave me a shot. Yes, I booked a couple meetings and a couple sales calls, but never have I and booking those sales calls, I was never confident. I was never confident as in, all right, I'm gonna text this person. I'm gonna text this business owner, and I'm confident that they're gonna receive my message well, and they're gonna book a call with me. And going into my first sales call, that was the most like hard thing of my life. I was shaking. My hands were shaking going into that call. My voice was stuttering. My voice was shaky. I was just this 15-year-old kid, It wasn't easy, nor was I confident at all. But I would have never ended up where I am today. And I'm not saying I'm not a guru. I'm not saying like, oh, I have a seven-figure company, but like I'm such a more confident person now because of what I went through, right? And I'll get into that a little bit later of what that looks like. But I contacted tens of thousands of businesses and booked a couple calls before I even got my first shot. And when I got my first shot, and the whole process, right, of doing the things the first time, reaching out to my first client, reaching out to my first lead, my first client call, my first sales call, right? My first campaign, none of these things that I did for the first time that I felt confident in. Yes, I was obsessed with this process. I was obsessed with marketing. I was obsessed with sales. And I studied it relentlessly and obsessively for literally every waking second of my life for 3 years, 4 years now. I spent my time, I'm spending my time studying marketing and sales and operations and automations, AI, whatever, right? And just business in general, like especially marketing and sales. That's what I specialize in, right? Even though I've used this time and I'm obsessed with it, like I still didn't feel confident because there was no proof. That's the big word in confidence, right? There was no proof that I've done it before. I didn't cook an egg 20 times. I didn't cook an egg 1,000 times before. Why would I be confident in it? I feel like people just have this so backwards. And so when I got my first shot with a business owner, when I got my first client, I just wrote this again, but when I got my first client, it was scary, but I was truthful about it. I said, and it was on a free trial, right? I said, I don't know everything, but what I am confident in, I'm not confident in how many clients I'm going to get you. I'm not confident in how many sales I'm going to get you. I don't know. I'm not confident in the KPIs I'm going to get you because I've never done it before. But what I am confident in is myself, me, Lucid. That's what I'm confident in. I was confident in myself because I knew whatever it took, I was going to deliver on it. I was going to figure it out. And I think this is a massive, massive shift that was a turning point in my life that turned my life around. This mental shift of I'm not confident in the actions that I do. I'm not confident in unless I've done it 1,000 times, which now at this point I have in terms of like marketing and sales and reps. Like I I'm not confident in those things when I haven't done it before, and not neither should you, right? Because it's your first time doing it. But what I am confident about, and this is so key, if you just took away this key point in this video, is this. Don't be confident in anything else. The only thing you need to be confident in is yourself, is you. If you're confident in just this one thing, you will have everything else figured out, right? Because not only because when you're confident about yourself, you start to realize anything else I go into and I run into, I will figure it out because that's just how it works, right? For me, when I run into a new thing, right? So for example, I'm consulting a creator right now with 150,000 followers on Instagram. Have I consulted before? Well, yes, I kind of have. I've scaled businesses before, but never with a creator, with an audience, right? So some people will say this is easier, but this is my first time not having a team and doing it solo. This is my own business, right? And I think that feeling of, man, I've never done this before, but I have experience. I've had experience in marketing and sales. I've done courses, I've done mentorships, I've done programs. I've learned this process of how do you scale a business through experience, right? At the start of my journey, it was scaling home service businesses from 750,000 to 5 million. That was our mission, and that's what we did, right? And I handled the marketing operations of those businesses, right? Whatever, right? But what I was confident about going into this client is, okay, I have the experience, but if I didn't even have the experience, I was confident. I'm confident in myself to figure it all out. And that might take sleepless nights. That might take weeks and months and maybe even years, right? Of trying to figure out what really works. But if that's what it's going to take, I will do it because I'm committed to it, right? And this feeling of feeling confident before, I'm not even going to try to write it. That feeling of feeling confident before you get into something is such a trap. And I now thinking back, if I went into this client and I said, I'm not going to do it because I don't feel confident, I would have never worked with this client. And I feel like that would have just been a missed opportunity, right? Because with this client, we're actually doing really, really well now. and we built out the systems, we built out the right things. Now that I'm actually really, really happy I took on this opportunity, because even though I wasn't confident, right? And I think this is the main thing that we need to understand is, and this is another key point, is confidence. And I got this from Leila Hormozi. Confidence comes from competence. I don't know if I'm spelling that right. Confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from action despite not having confidence. And this is this cycle, right? Because you need action to get competence, and competence leads into confidence, right? So I'm going to try to keep this video short now, because this is the key point that I want people to understand, right? This feeling of, listen, you're not going to be confident unless you take the action first. And when you take action, you become competent. And with competence, you become confidence. That's it. Just really came up to the top of my mind, something I really want to talk about, because this is something that I've put a lot of thought into. If this resonated, if this helped, really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Go watch some of my other videos. Thank you.